Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we're going to start on configuring fundraising features. Hopefully, you had an opportunity to get your nonprofit NPSP installed in your nonprofit cloud last week, so that we can go on into configuring fundraising features. And a lot of this is going to look just like lists of things, and it is for the most part a big checklist, but you need to be aware of what's available and what's there. Thank you to Kathy, my co-host here, for always running everything in the background, making sure you all get all the announcements and information. She even found a brand new trailhead today on features that are coming out with spring 23. I haven't even done it yet, so I'm excited to find out what it says. Office hours will be listed at the end of class, and just to give you the link again in case you need it. Today's focus, we really want to look at the required configurations for nonprofit success pack fundraising. And there are some that are required no matter what you do and go from there. The recommended configurations, right? Recommended covers a lot of ground and gives you a lot of leeway. And we're going to look at what some of those are. And then look at configuring the fundraising features for specific use cases. And actually what we're going to do today is see what those features are for the different specific use cases. And when we get to that point, I want you to start thinking about, again, what you want to build in your org specifically. And we'll try and do some more in-depth knowledge on those. So I put up a poll, Kathy, but since Laura and Aaron are the only ones here, it may not be as helpful as I had hoped it would be. But I think it's an anonymous poll. Can you run it from, let's see if I know how to do this. I actually created the poll. Good. Yes. So milestones. So if y'all will take a minute to fill this in, and then we'll follow up with this again later. But if you have a dev org, a sandbox, or a trial created, right? So you probably, it sounds like some of you created it in the playground. Some of you may be in a sandbox. I'm just curious to know where you did that. And whether you completed the NPSP installation. And if you're considering the type of project that you want to complete in this class, right? One specific focus, either fundraising, program management module, volunteers for Salesforce, customizable roll-ups, outbound funds module, any of those. So if you have just a second to fill those in, that would be great. And it's anonymous. I won't know which of you did what. But what we do want to look at is to get a better idea of, so fundraising itself and program management module. That's great to know because those are two of my favorites personally. I did the poll. So let's talk about required configurations for the NPSP fundraising. So you've already done, when you installed the NPSP, excuse me just a second, the required configurations for NPSP itself. But going a little bit deeper, we're going to look at the additional configurations that need to be done for NPSP fundraising. And so you see it's a list of 7 specific items that need to be accomplished. And you can get some help here on your Get Started with NPSP admin if you take a look at it. But what we're going to look in our class today are these 7 different configurations for NPSP fundraising. First off, opportunity stages. And oh my goodness, what a list this looks like, right? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But you want to make sure that these are available for you to use, depending on what you're using NPSP fundraising for. I'm so sorry. If you'll notice, so applications submitted. If you don't have any, if you're not using grants or outbound funds module, you may not need the application submitted. However, you may be using it in some other way. Sorry. So just be sure that all of these are there. I think there are 18 different stages available. Sorry, ranging from grant submitted to in-kind donation. You may not need all of these, but you might. So confirm they're there, go to setup, go to the object manager, go to the opportunity object, fields and relationships, and the stage should list all of these as options. If you're not doing applications or in-kind donations, you may want to deactivate them. Don't ever delete them, just deactivate them. They don't show up in your choices, and you have them there as your organization continues to grow and have more use cases. The next thing is the sales processes. And you may be very familiar with the sales processes just from working, for your admin certification, the ongoing work you do with the organization. But you want to confirm that these are available as well, because these are specific to Nonprofit Success Pack. So the donation sales process, you see that the recommended opportunity stages there are pledged, closed won, decline, closed lost. For grants, if you're going to use grants, for in-kind gifts, and for major gifts. And those four are specifically installed with your NPSP. Make sure they're there, decide how you're going to use them. You may have other opportunity stages you want to add. You may not be as complex as some of these are, and that's all okay, because that's what keeps it flexible and easy for everybody to configure. The next, and one of my favorites, is opportunity record types. I think this is where the fun really starts, right? So NPSP installs 6 specific record types. So you want to confirm that these are available in your opportunity object, by going to setup, and the objects, go to opportunity, go to record types, and make sure these 6 are all there. There may be additional ones. Remember, if your organization is older or has been used quite a bit, you may find additional things there, but these are the ones that have come in with NPSP fundraising and that you want to be sure are seen to you. And so once you've got those records types established, including the pick list values and page layouts, then you're on the way to creating a much more friendly version of Salesforce for the users that have to do that sort of thing. You want to be sure that you have the new button on the opportunity related list, right? So a new account donation, for example, and simple to go to the object manager, go to account or organization, if that's what it's called in your system, and page layouts and the related list. And this was a new thing to me. I had never seen this before until I really started researching NPSP, to know that when you click on related list and you click on the little wrench, then you can see the standard buttons, you can see the custom buttons, you can move the available buttons back and forth, but this is not a configuration that's done automatically by NPSP. So you want to be sure to go in there and set that up. So you also want the new and edit buttons on the contact record, right? With the new interface and the way you can set up account buttons, they probably already exist, but they may not be pulled up into the most usable place, right? So you get buttons for new donation, which is great, right? You're on the contact record, you're talking to someone, they're pledging, $1,000 this year. You can do that immediately from the contact record. Same for new in-kind gift, new major gift, new membership, and a new open recurring donation. Obviously, you may not need any of those except for new donation, and that's fine as well. But it really depends on your business processes and how you want that done. If there is a button that doesn't exist for some reason, then you may need to create quick actions to create those buttons and have them available. Opportunity contact roles. You may already be familiar with this object as well. It's a junction object that connects contacts and opportunities, because opportunities are always related to accounts, organizations, households, whatever you want to call them, and not to contacts. So there are many different roles here, and more can be added, and some may be deactivated depending on your business processes. But you see, especially the donor, if that's the person that's actually making the donation, but it might also, when we start looking at setting up soft credits, and if you are lucky enough to have donors who have workplace giving that matches their donations, you want to be sure everybody gets credit for a donation that needs credit for a donation. And so that's why these opportunity contact roles are available. If you're looking for sponsors for something, for example, you may have a board member who is an influencer, but the board member is not the actual decision maker on who donates the funds. So you want the board member as the influencer on this opportunity, and the company's decision maker on this opportunity is the person who can actually donate the money. So maybe you're beginning to understand a little bit why we learned so much about asking the right questions to start, because we have to configure all these things now. And without knowing how your customer, whether it's your internal org or if you're helping someone else, is going to use the Nonprofit Success Pack for fundraising, you don't know how to configure these different things. So this is a great place to start that translation. And yes, I know we're supposed to be migrating to flow instead of workflow rules, right? But we can still activate these two by going to setup, process automation, workflow rules. And this is the two that are required for NPSP fundraising. If you're using that in your business process to copy the fair market value to an amount field, or the email and acknowledgement to the primary contact for an opportunity. So workflow rules that I'm sure will soon be migrated to a flow, but currently they're still operating as workflow rules, and they do not come into your system actually enabled. So you want to be sure you get those enabled. So I know that was a ton of information to cover in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but those are required configurations for Nonprofit Success Pack fundraising. Those are the things that you will want to have a clear understanding of what your org is trying to accomplish, and of what settings correlate to each of those requirements. So the recommended configurations for Nonprofit Success Pack fundraising. From here on out, it's really a combination of skill, knowledge, and art. All the time we spent learning about what could be done, talking with customers about what the actual goal is and what their measure of success look like, comes into play here. We're about to go off-road, four-wheeling, and really get creative. So two of the most important recommended configurations are list views and compact layouts. And you know that being able to see everything in one place at a glance can be a lifesaver. Helpful list views, especially if you're working with external portal builders like Hands-on Connect or Llama Site, can come in immensely handy. A well-built list view can do more than you can possibly imagine. You definitely want to be able to see your organizations, whether they are actually organizations or whether they're households, right? Because they're both a type of account. So you want to be able to see at a glance, maybe active sponsors, that would be an account list view. Setting up those helpful list views based on your needs makes it easy to find what you need, where you need it, when you need it. You can pin, and that was, in my mind, one of the best features that Salesforce came out with in a long, long time, and it's been some time ago, but was to be able to pin the list view, right? So that every time you open a list view, that's the one you see first, the one that you want to look at all the time. The second recommended configuration is compact layouts. And if you're not using these, again, I would encourage you. They do come, NPSP comes with standard layouts, compact layouts for contact, account, opportunity, and campaign. And it can make such a huge difference, even if you clone one of these and adjust it to better fit your needs, to see what you need to see in 5 fields immediately at the top of the page without scrolling. So an important part of the recommended configurations for NPSP fundraising. But don't forget, right, all the rest of your fabulous admin tools. So for me, I love paths. I'm a very visual person, and I want to see that Charles is registered, right? That he's got his background check done, he's done all these things, and he's registered. Good to go, right? I like to see pictures, photos, people's faces, especially if you're in a contact account. And I remember faces more often than I remember names. And if I can't remember quite if I met you or not, but I could see your face here in the Charles Xavier account, I would know I knew you. Dashboards, reports, you can have, the dashboards are great on a home page that you have that kind of gives you an overall view of everything. You can have individual charts, reports, information that is specific to a contact or a home, a household, that makes it easy to see at just a glance the information that you actually need to be able to catch the nuances and the changes and the things that are happening where everything is. So what will really differentiate your integration of Nonprofit Success Pack from others is the user interface, the user experience here. The easier that you can make it, the better. We use an iterative process to improve as we go, but thinking carefully and watching users use, the fewer changes that you have to make, the better. I don't know about you all, but I have muscle memory. And if the apps on my iPhone change place, then I'm always clicking the wrong app because it's not where it used to be. So just human nature, you don't want things to change. If you can do some work ahead of time to understand what the jobs to be done are, then you can build a much better interface. You've got the tools at hand. You just need to understand how best to use them. Excuse me. Configuring fundraising features for specific use cases. And I don't want to terrify you with this next slide, but there are so many different features these days and so many different use cases. And you'll be glad to know that with my hacky cough, we're not going to go through all of them one by one, but there are 21 different fundraising features listed here for specific use cases, right? The ones in blue are the ones that are most commonly used. And there are resources that we've included in the resource deck with step-by-step instructions. So feel free to ask for extra assistance on any of these that you need to configure, either in the office hours on Thursday or ask in the Slack channel. I don't know of anyone who is intimately familiar with every single one of these, so we'll all help each other. But especially if you're taking the certification, I would highly recommend that you look at automated and manual soft credits, the gift entry, and recurring donations. Those are three big places that that you'll need some knowledge. And again, you don't have to learn every single one of these, but there may be one or two or more that are specific to whatever it is that the goal you have set for yourself to build for your organization. And so we can discuss any of these, in the Slack channel or in the office hours specifically, if you run into problems. So that's just the fundraising configurations, right? Next week, we are going to look at configuring additional nonprofit cloud features and the security that you should have in your organization to be sure that all that data is safe and everything is where it should be. We've got tons of homework. Laura said last week it was 9 hours of homework. Obviously, I didn't realize it was that much, although I know learning can really take a chunk of time. But there are some great trailhead badges. The Build Better with UX is when I specifically asked Kathy to add here, because as we're talking about, that's going to be the differentiator, right? It doesn't matter how complicated the settings are on the back end and all the work you've done on the back end. If it looks simple and easy for your users, that's going to be the key and critical part to getting everyone to adopt the use case and to get the data that you need. So the additional resources obviously are not anything you have to do, but you notice there's a document on creating automated and manual soft credits and configuring gift entry and recurring donations. I would definitely take a look at those simply because I know that if you're going for the certification, you're going to need them. If you're not going for the certification and you have a use case, it probably to some extent includes automated and manual soft credits. Kathy, you've got office hours Thursday, is that right?
Yes, at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Awesome. And we'll have the video up hopefully as soon, within half an hour of getting done today. So if you need to go back and check it out, you can. And I will see you next week. If you want to stop the recording, Kathy.